Hi everyone, and welcome to our Social Studies Department PLC for the beginning of the year. I'm going to start with a question that a lot of us probably have on our minds at this time of year, and that is, where do we go from here? So in the background you can see the peak of Mount Everest. I'm going to be using mountains and climbing as a metaphor for working toward our goals today. So I want to start out with this quote: "There is no failure, only feedback." So we're not worrying about how are these things setting us back. It's more about how can we move forward and keep climbing. So from our district improvement plan, our goal for last year was to increase by 5% the number of students scoring proficient and distinguished on the spring GMAS scores. Of course, we're doing great in that area as a department, but there is always room for improvement. The first action step that is relevant to our department is to continue to utilize computer-based assessment systems and content resources to create common assessments and digital learning activities at the appropriate rigor levels, and also to continue implementation of our district PLC initiatives, including teacher clarity, visible learning, and, well, you already know. So what are we doing right? We have already got learning targets and success criteria in place. This last year, we put student self-assessment into place in our classrooms, and I'm really excited for the upcoming year to see what we can do with our plans for remediation and enrichment, as those are individualized, differentiated assignments per student, per unit. So what are some things we can improve at? Well, yes, we have common formative assessments in the gradebook, but we could also use common informal assessments to kind of gauge how we're doing day by day. And there are plenty of options. I did create this for world history, but sometimes kids get burnt out on the same platform every time. And so I think this is a good idea to kind of say, oh, okay, well, we both used a certain assessment today. My kids did better than yours did better than mine. What did we do differently? What are some things we can learn from each other? The second thing is monitoring and gauging progress. But for me personally, I struggle with adapting based on that data collected from those formative and self-assessments that we've put in our classrooms. The last thing is on mindset. We need to focus on what we can control. We cannot always control what goes on in our students' lives, but we can focus on what's going on in our classrooms. So for example, you can see here in this GIF, this is Albert Lynn. He's on National Geographic a lot, and you may be able to tell he has an artificial leg. Well, he's going to focus on what he can control and get over this obstacle that he's trying to climb here. So how can we help our students improve? One of the big things is to provide more opportunities for student input. And you can do that with a simple Google form to check where they are, mentally, emotionally, and academically. So you may ask questions like, what worked well for you? What did you like most this week? What didn't work so well? What can I do to better support you? And probably the most important question is there anything else you want me to know? You never know what you're going to get here, but it may be valuable information for you to help the student. And also the kids really like this how are you feeling question with the emojis. And don't just read those results, though, and do nothing about it. Make sure you reply to every single submission. It really means a lot to the kids. Also, like I said before, we need to use informal formative assessments more often and in a greater variety. So before I open up for questions or suggestions, I just want to talk about this picture really quickly. This is the base camp for Mount Everest. And you probably heard that saying, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. We do not want to hang out at base camp. We want to keep working as hard as we can for ourselves and for our students. And so we don't want to do what we've always done. We don't want to maintain the status quo. And so eventually we're going to have to leave base camp. We're going to have to do things differently. We're going to have to be more open-minded about where we want to go. And so like I said, we're going to have to leave base camp, and we're going to have to make the climb and achieve our goals. Thank you.